Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Dash Radio on the Nothing But Net channel every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, we are starting a partnership with Fansided. Look for our content in more places coming up in the next couple of weeks. This is a big thing for us. It's going to allow us to expand quite a bit. You might even hear more episodes than you typically used to hearing. Also, 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Alex Dono was back today. I actually popped in with him, Dono Daily, every single day, plus all of our streaming shows, whether it's on the Canes, F1, or anything else. 5reasonsports.com, spell that one out, and you get the latest takeaways from Brady Hawk and others without a paywall. Also, the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Usually mention this one at the end. We'll mention it at the beginning. You might need to sleep. You might need to recover during free agency. So check out therapistpreferred.com. Therapistpreferred.com. Get your premium CBD, the tincture, the sports cream, the gummies. Therapistpreferred.com. It's the best stuff. 25% off with the code 5RSN. So number 5RSN. That's our product code. 25% off. Therapistpreferred.com. And now, tonight's episode.
Down the bitch gang. Yeah. 5 on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing. You can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the flow playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Ethan Skolnick back on 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. I got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. And we don't have Brady Hawk today, but he was at the Nikola Jovic press conference with Alex today. So the two of them did a video you can find on our YouTube channel. We're not going to talk much about that today. We do want to get to him more. I know people are waiting for that. Brady's done some breakdowns. We also obviously want to get to some of the undrafted guys that are going to Summer League. The Heat officially announced their Summer League schedule tonight. So we will get to that. But we know that you want free agency stuff. So I did a starting 9 today where I got into some of this. One of the problems with doing free agency episodes here is that as soon as you do something, it's different by the time you finish. We were planning on doing a complete Kyrie Irving episode tonight, and then the report came out that he's basically just re-signing with the Nets. So much for that. So Greg is going to be the star of this thing. Honestly, he's been more on top of this stuff than I have over the past 24 hours. I'm going to kind of jump on it now as we head towards free agency. Alex and I will kind of pivot off of it on some of the information. We're going to do this rapid fire as much as we can. Let's just go to Kyrie Irving first because he is the biggest name. This effectively takes him out of the picture, correct?
Yeah, it looks like he's staying in Brooklyn. Cooler heads prevailed, whatever you want to say, which was interesting to hear come about out of nowhere because there were pretty loud noises that that Kyrie's people in Miami had direct contact in terms of like when he was exploring signing trades. So to me, that was very informative to hear that they were actually in contact that way. Obviously, he chose to stay where he is. So that's not going to work out. There were so many different things that had to happen with the signing trade stuff, or if he was going to opt in and get dealt, that I just don't know that was really going to come to fruition. So it seemed like a game of chicken in Brooklyn, frankly. And so the Heat move on to other options. I do think that there are other guys to talk about. There are a few names that I didn't expect to hear that as I started to poke around with, sources throughout the league, I got a couple names attached to Miami that I didn't expect that I think we'll go through in a minute. But really for Kyrie, I do not see that being anything worth discussing going forward, other than we know Miami likes him. They like his game. Jimmy likes his game. And I think that now Kevin Durant can also get crossed off this list, this fictional list of guys we'd love to have in Miami, because it appears as if he'd stay as well.
And this just shows, again, the Heat are in on everybody. Everybody was talking about the vax stuff and all that. None of that really matters. I think might have mattered in terms of, Kyrie, just general availability and commitment to a team, because that has been an issue with Kyrie in the past. But I think the talent would have overruled it. The only thing I really heard on the Kyrie front was that Pat was interested, but he wasn't going to overpay. That's basically where he was at. So, I mean, it kind of ends up being a moot point. So we're not going to spend a lot more. That would have been an entire episode. We're not going to spend a lot more on Kyrie and KD. Doesn't seem to be any point. Let's get to the Heat's premium free agent. He is kind of a premium free agent. He's just starting power forward. What do we have new on PJ Tucker, Greg?
So the more I poke around on PJ Tucker, I had another league source confirm tonight that they think he's Philly bound. So like that's starting to really circulate in a large way. And I think that when I checked in closer to home, it was kind of like, let's see them execute the move that enables them to have the non-taxpayer mid-level before we talk about them signing anybody. So it seems as if they are not in like a call bluff situation, but more as if it's not even actually possible right now. So don't bring it to the table. So I think that they're prepared to keep PJ, but I also think that the noise around teams offering him the full mid-level for 3 years to get him to come is super real. And like, I don't know whereas once I thought he may give Miami a discount, I think that there may be enough interest where it's loud enough that they have to give the full mid-level, which is not what they had hoped for. Let's just say that much.
Alex, I'll pivot to you real quick on this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I want to get to a whole bunch of other things. But I mean, you have felt pretty strongly that it's a lose if the Heat lose PJ Tucker. You still feel that way if it turns out to be you got to pay 3 years and $30 million?
Yeah, I think letting PJ Tucker walk will be very reminiscent of what happened 2 summers ago with the Jay Crowder thing, where it's like you just had a nice run and then you let this starting piece walk away. And I think PJ Tucker is a better fit for this Heat team than Jay Crowder was for everything Jay was great at. You know, obviously a better shooter. I think PJ is somebody they cannot let walk away. I'm not even going to get into all the reasons why. We talked about it on other shows, but the whole mid-level thing, it just made me laugh when Leif was saying that there, because it does sound also like, well, since the Sixers, again, just to reiterate, they cannot offer that full mid-level yet. They don't have that until if, you know, they find a way to trade Matisse Thybulle or perhaps Korkmaz for not, you know, nothing in return. That's how they can kind of offer PJ that full mid-level. And I think the Heat are kind of like, well, let it get to that point first, and then we'll offer you that. But that's not our priority, right? I think that's just kind of that's not what they wanted to do, right? I think they wanted him to get that salary raise so that they can use that mid-level elsewhere. And once again, to reiterate, losing him would be a loser move. I think it's something that the team like the Milwaukee Bucks do, a franchise that let Brogdon walk and kind of because they didn't want to pay him. And I think cheaping out when you consider yourself a real contender and right there is not a good look.
Here's the thing. I understand that. And I agree with you that it has some Crowder.
I don't believe they'll actually let him walk, but yeah.
But that it has some Crowder stuff to it. And again, I think the Crowder thing was understandable because they were clearing room for Giannis. And I think it's more so the replacements that they plugged in there, whether it was Harkless or Ariza, really didn't work. But I will say this, though, if I think they should bring PJ back if they can. But I also think in light of some of the financial commitments that they're looking at on this team, it is understandable to me in this case if they go in different direction with that money. And look, I don't want to make this a big thing. I said this on Starting Nine today, and I don't want to make this a huge thing, okay? But I'm gonna look something up right now, okay? Because I've been mentioning this for the past couple of years, and I know nobody is going to feel sorry for a billionaire, okay? So I am not trying to do that, but I'm just trying to create some context here, okay? Just want to create some context as we start going deeper and deeper into the tax. So at one point, Carnival stock, which is where Mickey, the Arison family made their money. Okay. It's not, I mean, the Heat value has gone up tremendously. Okay. But like, this is where they made their money. If you look at where it was at one point pre-COVID, $72, $52 right before COVID. Okay. It went down to $9. The Saudis bought some of it from Mickey. It went up to about 28. I know because I had invested in it at that time. You know what it closed at today? Greg, you know what it closed at today?
No, I have no idea.
$10.55.
Ooh.
It's back to where it was when he had to sell off some to the Saudis. Okay. So again, I know nobody's feeling bad for a billionaire here, but I'm just saying, I wonder if this is an overhang a little bit on some of this stuff. We shall see. They didn't want to go into the tax because they didn't want to be in the repeater situation. I understand it. Now they have a team that's 4 points from the finals. And even Pat has always said when they're that close, Mickey will spend. But I'm trying to put this into, a frame. I mean, it was down another 3% today. I mean, it's just, it is where it is. So this is just something nobody's really discussed except us here, I guess. But anyway, Greg, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it also has to do with maybe some of the guys that they may bring in, and like the salary allocated at that position and what that would mean going forward. But I just think for the locker room, I think for Jimmy, I think for the camaraderie built around this team and PJ Tucker, all that he embodied, if he did leave, it would be an absolute disaster. So again, I will say when a disaster strikes in your home or business, you need specialized, fast and reliable services. Water Cleanup of Florida understands the impact and stress an unexpected disaster may cause. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, and their team is prepared to handle any size disaster. The guys are third generation contractors in South Florida. So continuing to maintain their sterling reputation is extremely important to them. This is Water Cleanup of Florida. They are absolutely licensed building contractors, A to Z service, one-stop shopping. So every busy homeowner and business owner, when you want to go to one person to get it all done, you go to Michael and his team. There's no need to bring in anybody else. They'll handle it all for you. Call Michael anytime on his personal cell, 954-579-0356. Again, that's Water Cleanup of Florida. If you got the schmutz, they got the guts.
That's the best transition you've ever done. All right, let's go into the next one here. Because I don't know if they have PJ Tucker insurance. But Greg, you mentioned that there were some interesting names that you had not expected that were linked to the Heat. We've talked about some of the names that have been linked. Harrison Barnes, Marcus Morris. These are guys that have been kind of in the wheelhouse here for the past couple of years, particularly if PJ leaves. Going for a guy who's maybe a little bit more versatile offensively, although PJ showed some of that last year. I think we weren't expecting, but more scorer types in the front court, which is something they missed, I believe. Markieff Morris did not provide it. His brother perhaps could. Harrison Barnes obviously has that skill set. Give me some other names though that you heard as we run through them.
Marcus Morris, just to be clear, has been reiterated more than once. I don't think anybody is surprised by that at this point. Harrison Barnes finally made it to me. Frankly, like that had been brought up on Heat Twitter a lot. Shout out to G and Miami Heat Beat, because I know they're pushing that agenda. And I kept telling them and everybody that would listen that Harrison Barnes was not a name that I heard. Finally, that's a name that I've heard. Another interesting name that we've already talked about on the show, just coincidentally, Jay Crowder. I think he could be back in the mix if Phoenix looks to shuffle the deck. I think Phoenix may be up to something big, mind you. Another name that I didn't expect, Nerlens Noel, I think is a name that Miami could look into. And then They've looked at him before. Here's the real interesting one.
Wait, hold on a second though. Oh no. I thought Nerlens Noel was Clutch. No, he sued Clutch. Okay, so that one's okay. Continue. I'm sorry.
So he'll be there tomorrow. No, just joking. The real interesting one that I got was Will Barton, forward over in Denver. Kind of a scoring option. I thought that was an interesting name that I did not expect to hear as I started to gather names. There's one more big one that I think we should acknowledge just because he's been in the news so much lately. I did get indications that a few weeks back, Miami checked in on DeJounte Murray. They checked in on DeJounte Murray last summer, frankly, when there was some Tyler Hero. When Ethan was throwing out percentage points related to Tyler Hero, there may have been some conversations in San Antonio with DeJounte Murray, but I heard that was also a topic of conversation again, but obviously it looks like he's going in other directions. So all this to say is that the Heat are active. Ethan, you said it on your starting nine that they are in all of these races. They're in all of them. You're absolutely right. So it's just a matter of who breaks free. And I think that Heat fans are expecting, like, I'm getting the vibe that they are starting to get let down because this Kyrie KD things appears to like be falling off the radar. So they're like, who's left? Just wait. These are these situations where you never know. All of a sudden, a guy that nobody's talking about becomes available out of nowhere. So just be patient. I know the Heat are, but they're being very opportunistic and surgical in terms of like where they're going with this. They have a plan.
Here's the thing about that, and then I'll pivot to Alex on some of these names. Heat Twitter gets itself worked up into a frenzy on guys with whom the Heat have no control over the
It was so
situation.
anticlimactic though, like that. It just
But it happens but it's and we love a couple of them, but it's all the same people. I mean, it's truly getting everybody worked up here, but it's like literally every single name that comes out there. I mean, it's not that the Heat are not interested. It's not. I mean, I saw it truly put like Pat dropped the ball. Like on what? The guy wants to go back to Brooklyn. He's just trying. It's just a leverage play. I mean, what are you going to do? I just think we can say Pat dropped the ball sometimes when he's made signings. Pat dropped the ball when he signed Hassan Whiteside to the max, and then with JJ and James Johnson and Dion Waiters to their contracts. Like not getting a guy who's not leaving is not dropping the ball. Okay, that's not the way. Well, right, exactly. Okay, so I mean, these are personnel decisions that were made that were not the best, and they had to work themselves out of them. But like, say you didn't get Kyrie and he dropped the ball is just silly. I mean, look, you negotiate. There's all kinds of things you're negotiating against and with the players' desires, their players' families' desires, the players' entourages' desires. Whether the team you're working with will actually deal with you, whether or not you have players that the player wants to play with, whether you're in the right market. Unfortunately, Riley does have that on his side typically. But like, it's not all, well, they didn't get Kevin Durant in 2016. That wasn't the problem. They weren't going to get Kevin Durant in 2016. His choice was Golden State or Miami. Where do you think he was going with the two rosters? The problem was the way they handled Dwayne during that period of time. It didn't make him feel loved when they were going after Durant and then re-signing Hassan Whiteside. That was the issue. It wasn't that they didn't get Kevin Durant. And sometimes you don't get the guy like Gordon Hayward, and it turns out to be the best possible thing that could have happened, okay? Or Mo Williams years back, or some of the others that the Heat have been in on. So just, again, I think be patient. I do think they're trying to do something big. Could they strike out on everybody and then end up losing PJ Tucker too? Yes, but they'll find, like you said, Heat fans were like apoplectic about losing Jay Crowder, and we're just saying, well, they could potentially find Jay Crowder back here in that same spot. Would Heat fans be? I mean, PJ I think was better, but would you be apoplectic about that if you also add another player in the mix? No. So I just think we got to let it sit a little bit before we close. I do want to mention Prize Picks. That's our official fantasy sponsor. Use that code 5. They do got other things going on now, even with the NBA and NHL finish, MLB, MMA, boxing, etc., golf. Go to prizepicks.com. They've also got the NFL futures are up there already. So Prize Picks, use that code 5, FIVE, get your initial deposit matched up to $100. Again, it's a great site. Okay, it really is. So play around on it. Use that code 5, FIVE, initial deposit matched up to $100. But you got to actually use the code and make the deposit to play. And we see a lot of people signing up and they're not depositing. I don't know if they're waiting for the first game of the Heat season to start, but you can play stuff starting right now. All right, Alex, real quick, I'm giving you a 1-minute drill here. Okay, so some of the names that we spoke, I'm timing it. Some of the names that we spoke about. Okay, tell me who is interested. We're gonna do this like we're raffling off something. Okay, some of the names that are interested right now. Let's go. You ready? Boom, go. Harrison Barnes, go.
Harrison Barnes, you already know I'm in on that. I'm glad it's finally reached Leif. It feels a little bit more real now. Not surprised at all about Marcus. Marcus Morris. The Nerds the Well one is cool. I would like him as a backup 5. The Will Barton one is the most interesting to me because I saw he's under contract next season. He's expiring, and he would match with Duncan. So they will be trading Duncan in that scenario for Will Barton. So that's a different type of guy. Obviously, he's a little bit of a rim attacker, maybe some insurance if Depot leaves. I think he's been an effective player for the Nuggets, so I don't know if they want to let him walk. So that one was surprising to me. Other than that, like DeJounte Murray, would love that. Who knows if at one point he wants to leave the Spurs and if his timeline ends up not matching with a full rebuild, if they come back to that. Other than that, not very surprising.
You dislike any of them? I mean, you got to dislike at least one of them.
Well, I like Will Barton as a player, but I wouldn't want them to trade Duncan for a 2. So whether it's him or a guy like Eric Gordon, who kind of a similar situation, who might be available, similar contract, I would like them as players over Duncan, but I would want them to go for the 4. So I'm glad they're looking at those guys for sure. It seems like they're just really active on all layers right now, on all levels.
Ethan, I think I speak on behalf of all Heat fans when I say we want to think bigger.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where they're at right now. This is not a shuffle around the edges offseason for the Heat. I've said that repeatedly. This is a cutthroat offseason for Pat Riley. We are not going to get to the point where we have to see if he'll trade Bam for Durant, although that would have been fascinating. That's not going to happen now. but that did come up in certain circles today.
I don't think he would have wanted to play here without Bam, to be honest.
I don't think so either. And we would have gotten a couple days of content out of that. I got a morning, but we're
right. Could have just drag out for a day or two. Give us a couple episodes.
We're going to get a whole bunch more of that. Look, we got to get this episode up. I'm sending it to Alex because by the time we do, it's going to be obsolete. Hopefully not. Water Cleanup of Florida. Therapistpreferred.com. Use the code 5RSN. Prize Picks. Use the code 5. Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Regional Sports Network.